And in this case, there is a lion in the streets. A lion is in the way. Well, we don't know the certain case of this. Maybe there really was a lion in the streets. And an industrious man, a man who knows he's accountable to God to care for his family, he'll go out and work even though there is a lion in the streets. He'll probably go kill the lion, have him for dinner, and then be able to work the rest of the week without threat. The sloth says, oh, I just can't do it. You know, here's another reason. It's too cold outside or it's too dangerous. And when you think of danger, I love, there's an old photo, I should have put it up here on the screen. There's a great picture of about 6 men from the 1930s up on a girder in New York City. Have you ever seen that old photo? And they have their lunch buckets up on the thing, and they're literally dangling out, 70 stories up in the air, riveting iron together back in the 1930s, and the men have their lunch pails and they're having lunch. And those men had to walk those narrow girders every day, all day, up high. You talk about dangerous. Men and women have been in dangerous work conditions forever. Every law enforcement official faces danger when they go to work. Every factory worker, there's dangers, but you don't let them paralyze you. You don't say, I can't because it's too dangerous. And the sluggard, the sloth, will always have another reason. Oh, there's a lion out there. I can't work today. I can't do it. It's too cold. One of the reasons I've heard, and even in my own family, I've heard people say, well, I'm not going to work because it doesn't pay good enough. And then 6 months later, they've never gone to work. And a year later, and 2 years later, because the pay wasn't good enough. And I've told them, if you just would have been earning that minimum wage the last year, all your money problems would be gone. Well, because they weren't making enough at once, they excused themselves from working at all. And again, it's just another flimsy excuse. I can't, I won't, it's too dangerous, it's too hard, it's not enough. The sluggard will be full of excuses. Now, when we look in history, we find this to be an amazing thing. In verse 14, as the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. And when you open a door or close it, does the door really go anywhere? It does in a sense. It moves. There's a lot of action, but it never goes anywhere. Your door is always in the same place every time you go. It pivots on the hinge. And the Scriptures is simply saying a sloth, there's a lot of action with a sloth. And what it is, it's rolling over from their left side to their back side to the other side. They wallow in bed or maybe on the couch, and they never go anywhere because they're always busy, getting some more sleep. And we find that in history, great men throughout history have been early risers, and just a few of the great men, like, you look at Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, some of our founding fathers, they were always up well before the sunrise. Jefferson found that he did some of his greatest work, like little things, like write the Declaration of Independence before anyone else was up. It was a time of solitude, and he might have gotten in 2, 3, or 4 hours before anyone else had even started. We had some up here yesterday at 6 a.m., and by the time others came at 8 or 9, these first folks had already done 3 hours, had already gotten a big head start and gotten a lot of the work knocked out. And that's that early riser. The person is going to say, in fact, Benjamin Franklin, what was his famous proverb? Early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. The fool says, I can't, I need more sleep, let me rest, I need more time, it's too cold, I'll work another day. But the industrious man or woman, boy or girl, they get after it. They're willing to pay that price, and nobody wants to have to get up early. But over time, you're conditioned, and our human nature, if you're up early and trained by that, that'll be a lifetime benefit. And may I say one last thing, if you don't have enough time in your day, if you just can't get everything done, back your alarm clock up an hour or two. You'll be amazed. You may not have to do it permanently, but if you're in a situation where you're really behind, gain an hour or two in the morning. Get those things done. Get home chores done or whatever you need to do. then get the rest of your day going, and you'll really find yourself ahead of the game. Well, we've seen the fool, we've seen the sluggard. Now let's visit the talebearer. And this is the first time this person has been mentioned by name as a talebearer. This is a person who fabricates stories. This is a person who embellishes stories. And we're going to be in verses 20 through 22. Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceases. As coals are to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Now the talebearer, someone that fabricates lies, who embellishes the story, they do this for many reasons. And time will not allow us to examine the talebearer in detail, but let us remember this first statement that if there is no wood, your fire will burn out. Now, some people say the Bible's too hard to understand. Is that too tough? If there's no wood, the Bible is amazingly simple. In fact, people who will say, "Oh, you can't understand the Bible," or "It's too hard to understand," they either haven't read it or there's a reason they're saying that so they won't have to do what it says. Where no wood is, the fire goeth out. Where there is no talebearer, the strife ceases. And I'm celebrating now 32 years as a Christian. I've been in church 32 years, Sunday school 32 years, Sunday night services. And I've noticed in all the years I've been in church, I've been in 5 different churches in those 32 years, that talebearers are found in any church. And I've also noticed that when the talebearer is removed, either by their own leaving or by them being put out because of what they do, an amazing change takes place in the church. A church that's full of strife and conflict, misinformation. When that talebearer goes, all that goes with them. It's an amazing thing. Just like when a fire has no more wood, the talebearer constantly is floating out misinformation, lies, exaggerations, and it creates a sense of strife. It creates miscommunication. But when the talebearer is removed, there's not a problem. God has a lot to say about talebearers, and we've talked about cursing earlier. I'd like for us to finish in Proverbs 6. So turn back to Proverbs 6. This will be our last verse. Proverbs 6, verse 16. Proverbs 6:16. These 6 things does the Lord hate, yea, even 7 are an abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. For God to call something an abomination means he utterly detests it. It's the worst thing that can be in God's eyes as far as evil. And I believe that Proverbs 6 is the talebearer. Look at every detail of this person. A proud look. That they'll look you in the eye and they'll proclaim truth, but it's not. A lying tongue. Hands that shed innocent blood. In other words, they do wrongdoing, but then they'll claim that you're the one that's wrong, or they'll claim someone else is wrong. They devise wicked imaginations. They think of things to do wrong. Very clearly, we had a person years ago in the church. There was constant strife about a children's ministry. Constantly misinformation coming out. I found myself and others having to correct these things. We couldn't understand why so much confusion surrounded this children's ministry. But then this person left, and all that left with it. So they actually devise or invent things to say. They're quick to go to meetings and do things so they can spread their misinformation.